Hello and welcome to the movement series. Today I want to take you through a fantastic routine that's going to be focused around legs and hip stability. So I'm going to add in some dynamic movements between the postures. So just go at your own pace, take a breather at any stage and enjoy. Let's get straight into it. So coming up to the front of the mat as we normally do, and we're going to start off with our sun salutation routine. So reaching up to the ceiling, create space through the spine, nice deep breath in. And let's fold forward nice and gently. Maintain a slight bend in the knees and just tuck the chin into the chest and allow the back to waken up. Allow the back of the legs to stretch out a little bit. Nice deep breath in. And then coming up onto the fingertips. Okay, let's try and straighten the back here. If we can't quite reach the mat, let's have the hands on the shins, even weight through the feet. Breathing into the belly. And then place the hands on the mat, step back into our press up plank position. Okay, let's hold here. We can either hold it here, we can be down on our forearms, we can be on our knees. So let's just maintain a nice flat back, and then when we're ready, we're going to come down nice and slowly, either in the full press up, coming down to the ground about an inch off the ground, or laying on the mat, elbows by the side, and then coming up into our upward dog. So here we can modify again, we can be on our forearms if needed, if the bend is just a little bit too much on the back. So just choose the modification throughout this whole routine that suits you. If we are in the full upward dog, just roll the shoulders back. Start off nice and slowly. And then from here, coming up onto the toes and coming back into our downward dog. So maintain a little bend in the knees if needed, making sure the back is nice and flat and we're pushing through the hands. We're really working the shoulders, we're trying to get that upper back into some sort of extension. The arms are very rarely overhead in our everyday life. It's a good opportunity to build strength and stability in this area. We can straighten the knees if needed, if you have that range of motion. Let's have the knees slightly bent to the point where you feel tension in the back of the legs, but we're not losing form. Okay, a couple more breaths here. And then walking our feet up between the hands and coming up into standing. Okay, second set. Reaching up to the ceiling, create space through the spine before we fold forward. Nice deep breath into the belly. And then coming down, hands down to the mat and tuck the chin into the chest. And then coming up onto the fingertips or hands onto the shins. Nice flat back, sit back into the hips, maintain even pressure through the feet. And then step back into our press up plank. So let's hold it here. We can be on our knees, we can be on our forearms. And then when we're ready, we're coming down nice and slowly, elbows by the side. We can be laying on the mat or just off the mat. And then coming up into our up dog. So again, we can be on our forearms for this one. By now, if you've done a number of the routines, you know that you can go at your own pace. Pick and choose the postures that work for you, that give you the most benefit, but also challenge yourself a little bit without compromising good form. Nice straight elbows, push through the floor, and then when we're ready, coming up onto the toes and shifting back into our downward dog. So feel free to just jostle between left and right leg, okay, just sinking down into the left heel and then swapping sides, dropping the right heel down, bending the left knee a little bit more. Okay, just any way we can warm up the body. Just checking how your body is feeling for today. Sink into the shoulders, push through the hands. And drop to the knees at any point. If you just need to take a breather. And then when we're ready, we're walking the feet up between the hands and coming up into standing. Okay, third and final set. Reaching up to the ceiling. Take a nice deep breath in. And then fold forward. Hands down to the mat, tuck the chin into the chest. By now the back is warming up. The blood is pumping. Okay, and then coming up onto the fingertips. Or hands on the shins. Let's try and get that back as flat as possible. Okay, it doesn't matter how far down you're reaching. If your hands are on the shins or just below the knees, it doesn't matter. And then from here we're stepping back into our press up plank, and let's just hold it here for a few moments. Make sure the body is nice and level. Modify where needed. And then when we're ready, we can either drop to the knees and come down slowly, or come down in the full press up, elbows by the side, just above the mat or laying on the mat. And then pushing up into your upward dog. Open up the chest. It's great for putting the back into extension. However, none of this should be painful or feel at all dodgy. So just ease back if it doesn't quite feel right. If your back hasn't been in this position for the last 15-20 years, it's going to be pretty stiff to start with. So just ease into it. Okay, and then when we're ready, coming up onto the toes and coming back into your downward dog. Breathing into the belly. From here, one last nice deep breath, and then walking the feet up in between the hands and then coming up into standing. Okay, we're going to step back into our lunge position. So just open up the stance a little bit, come right up on the toes on this left foot and sink down. from here, we're going to have the hands overhead. Let's hold it here. Okay, so from here we're going to come back up into our one leg balancing. So we can either move with me through this dynamic movement, or we can step that left foot forward and join us. So nice deep breath in, hands down, step up and bring the left knee upwards. I'm going to hold it here, keeping the hips nice and level. Okay, one leg balancing is fantastic for building strength around the hips, stability in the foot. Okay, from here we're going to get back into our lunge position. So we can either step back nice and slowly, or you can join me in this movement, in this dynamic movement. So stepping back in control. And then once we're here, we can raise the arms overhead again. Breathing deeply, coming out at any stage. If you just need to shake that leg out. Try and draw that pelvis in so we get a nice flat back. And again, we're going to step forward here again, so we can either step up and break it down into 2 steps, or we can come and join me in the dynamic movement. So arms down, drive forward and bring the left up. Take a few breaths here. And our third and final transition. So again, drop the foot down if need be, position yourself, or you can join me by stepping back. Get into position and arms overhead. Draw the pelvis in, and let's hold it here. And then we're going to step forward and swap sides. Good work. Okay, so step back, right foot back this time. So get into position and sink down, draw the pelvis in, extend that right leg behind you and arms overhead. Make sure our breathing's in check. Okay, and when we're ready, we can either step that right foot forward, break it down into 2 steps, or we can do the whole movement in one. So arms down and drive forward. Right leg up. That's a great way for seeing the balance between our left and right foot. You know, how well can you balance on these individual legs? These classes are just all about seeing how well your body moves and giving you good information moving forward. So from here, we can either drop that right foot down and step back, or we can just do it in one step. So step back on that right foot and sinking down. Once we're in position, draw the pelvis in and reach up. Make sure we're not overarching with our back, we're not leaning back too much, we're nice and vertical, or as vertical as possible. Nice deep breath in. And again, so arms down. You can either step forward and meet us in the one leg balancing, or we can go for the dynamic movement. Let's go. Stepping forward, reaching up and bringing that right leg up. Hold it here, soften that left knee. Just bringing the right knee up like this. It's really challenging on our hip flexors. Our lower back stabilizing muscles, as well as our left hip muscles. So again, we can drop that foot down, or we can step back in one go. So nice and slowly, set that back foot, that right foot behind us, sinking down, and bring the hands overhead. Draw that pelvis in. Let's stay calm, balanced. You can come out at any stage. And again, one last time, bringing the hands down. And step forward if you want to break it into two. Or drive forward in one movement. Right knee up, and let's hold it here. Breathing into the belly. Good work. And then dropping that leg down. Okay, we're going to get into our squat position now. So have the feet about shoulder width apart, facing forward. We're going to have the arms out here. We're going to keep the knees in line with the feet. We're going to sit back into the hips. Let's go. So we don't have to go all the way down. We can come a quarter way down, or we can go all the way down to about 90 degrees. But let's make sure we stay nice and tall through the body. Arms forward. Okay, the squat is an amazing exercise. It's always challenging. Breathing into the belly. I always like to look forward about a couple of meters in front of me and not crane the neck up too much. And from here, hands down in front, lift the heels up off the mat and let's sink down into our deep squat. Okay, it doesn't matter if the heels come off the mat a little bit. We can get the elbows in between the knees here, we can push the knees out a little bit. What we'll find is we're very rarely in this position, in this full hip flexion. And when we don't explore these positions, we end up becoming weak in this part of the range. Things start to stiffen up. Let's enjoy this moment. And then coming up nice and slowly. Good work. Second set. So feet about shoulder width apart, pointing forward. Reach the arms out in front, and let's go again. Coming down, making sure we're not rounding the back out, okay? Drawing the shoulders back. If that means you don't go as deep, then that's absolutely fine. Pretty even weight through the feet as well. We don't want to be gripping with our toes. We don't want to be balancing on our heels. So find that sweet spot. Okay, a couple more breaths here. And then place the hands down in front and sink down a little bit. Raise the heels up. We can reach the hands out. We can round the back a little bit now. Okay, just allow the body to stretch out in this position. Okay, this should feel nice. This should feel challenging. Feel like a good stretch. And feel like a position that is slightly challenging. So bring the knees out, bring the elbows in between the knees, and just open up the hips. Breathe deeply into the belly. The breath is at the forefront of this whole routine, of every routine that we do. By diaphragmatically breathing, we're creating stability in our abdomen. The diaphragm is dropping down and creating what they call intra-abdominal pressure, which is the foundation of core stability. And the breath tries to make us as calm as possible in some of these awkward positions. Okay, and then coming up into standing. So for our third squat, we can either do the same squat again, or if you're comfortable doing so and your knees are healthy, we don't have any issues around our knees or old injuries, we can come into our tall toe squat, which we've done a couple of times. So coming up onto the toes, or feet flat on the mat, whichever one you want to choose. Hands out, and come down nice and slowly. Vertical body. So as I say, any issues around knees, refrain from doing this squat. And just revert back to our first modification. If you're happy to do so, join me. So heels up, flat back. Any pain whatsoever, come out of this one. Couple more breaths here. And then come down and let's all drop down into our deep squat here. So raising the heels up. So that last modification is a great one that just focuses a little bit more around knee stability. But definitely go in with caution. Any discomfort, then just skip that one. Okay, good work. Then coming up into standing. Okay, let's open up for our warrior pose now. So back foot at 90 degrees, front foot pointing forward. Line up the heels and let's sink down into our warrior pose. Arms up by our shoulders. Nice vertical body. Don't lean forward. Okay, if this is challenging enough for you, stay here. No need to go any further. If you want to take it a step further, gently place the elbow on the left knee, but no weight should go through that elbow, it's just there for guiding. If you want to take it a step further again, gently place the fingertips down on the mat, and let's open up the body. Okay, so use your legs to hold you here. Okay, they're going to start feeling a bit tired now, the legs, after the first few postures. So by all means, come out. It's a fantastic posture. Open up the pelvis, getting some spinal rotation. Couple more breaths here. And then coming up nice and slowly. Straighten that front leg, pivot in and pivot out. Okay, get your breath back. Try and stay as calm as possible. Line up the heels, back foot at 90 degrees. Right foot pointing forward and sink down. Bring the arms up. Keep the body nice and vertical. If this is challenging, stay here. No need to go any further. If you do want to take it a step further, gently place that right elbow on the right knee. If you want to take it one step further again, gently place the fingertips down on the mat and bring the left arm up. So you want to find that edge where you're staying in control. You never want to push the body so hard that you lose form. The body doesn't adapt very well when we do that. It adapts really well to consistent work, daily practicing of these postures, where we challenge the body slightly more each day. Couple more breaths here. And then coming up nice and slowly. Okay, second set. Pivot in with that right foot. Pivot out with the left. So a good opportunity to press pause if you just need to take a breather. If you're happy to continue, let's go. So sinking into that left knee now. Keep the body vertical. Nice even weight between the front and back leg. Bring the arms up to shoulder level and stay here. If this is challenging enough, there's no need to go any further. If you do want to take it one step further, sinking down, left elbow on left knee, gently. And again, third modification, if you want to go one step further again, placing the fingertips on the mat. We don't need to put the arm up if you're somewhere in between, but if you're comfortable to do so, let's open up the body. Okay, a lot of these postures would fall into the category of dynamic stretching. We're retraining the body to be strong in these positions. There's a lot of neural input. It's incredibly beneficial, incredibly effective way of stretching, essentially. Okay, a couple more breaths here. And then coming up in control. Straighten that front leg, pivot in and pivot out. So take a nice deep breath. And and sink down into that right leg. Bringing the arms up and staying here if this is challenging. By now the legs are getting tired. If you do have a little bit of extra energy, placing that right elbow on the right knee. And if you want to take it one step further, we're dropping that right hand down and we can raise our arm up for this third modification. So unlike static stretching, where we're isolating one muscle and we're stretching it, this is completely different. We're using the whole body to maintain balance. We're building strength, stability. We're improving range of motion. It is pretty much the only form of stretching that I do personally. Okay, a couple more breaths here. And then coming up nice and slowly. Right, we're going to do one more round of that. Okay, I said at the beginning it's going to be a challenging routine on the legs. So feel free to drop to the knees at any stage. Just take a breather, press pause. If you're happy to do so, let's carry on. So left knee down, nice vertical body, arms up shoulder level. Okay, we can come out a little bit as well. You know, we don't have to be all the way down. Just work out what is challenging for you. If you want to take it a step further, we're gently laying that left elbow on the left knee. Don't put all your weight through it. We want to build strength through the legs. If you want to take it one step further again, we're dropping that left hand down and we're bringing the arm up. Let's try and keep the breath through our nose, nice and slowly. Trying to be as calm as possible in these uncomfortable positions. And then when we're ready, we're coming back up. We're straightening that front leg. We're pivoting in. We're pivoting out on that right leg. Okay, this is the last one. Let's sink down into that right hip. Bring the arms up. Stay here if this is challenging. If you want to take it a step further, we're dropping that right elbow gently on that right knee. So make sure this last rep is as controlled as possible. If you want to take it one step further, we're dropping that right hand down and we're bringing the left arm up. So what can happen is we get to the third one and we lose our form. So that's always an indication just to come out a little bit. Doesn't matter if you do all 3 sets. Going to the third modification, you can mix it up. As long as you're being challenged, you don't need to push any further. Okay, a couple more breaths here. And then coming up. Good work. Pivot in with that right foot. I'm going to pivot out with the left. We're going to shorten the stance up a little bit for our triangle pose. Okay, Okay, so that back foot now is at about 45-degree angle. Front leg nice and straight, knee locked out. I'm going to slide down that leg to where you feel the challenge. So important to keep that front knee straight but not pushing back, and make sure there's no pressure through our left hand. If we can get down to the ground, we can open up. We can even open up if our hand is further up, doesn't matter. We're all different, we all do different sports. Okay, some sports don't require this extent of range of motion. So it's not that going deeper is better. It's about maximising the range of motion you have for what you need it for. Okay, from here, I'm going to bring both hands down to the front. And we're just going to sink into the back of that left leg. And then if you want to take it one step further again, we're reaching over, we're reaching back for our reverse triangle. So right hand can be on the foot, it could be over the top of the foot and onto the ground on the outside of that left leg. But stay nice and strong through the hips. And bring that hand back down. Let's sink a little bit into that front leg. And then coming up nice and slowly. Good work. Pivot in and pivot out. Okay, so back foot about 45-degree angle, front foot nice and straight forward. Okay, and let's sink down on this right hand side now. So again, just go down to what you feel is challenging. There's no right or wrong. The most important thing is that you challenge yourself to your capabilities. Bringing the arm up. If you want to take it a step further, there's lots of modifications in all these moves. Okay, and from here, we're going to bring the hands down. Okay, they can just be under the knee, but make sure we're not pushing on that front leg. We're using our leg strength to hold us here. Okay, you can stay here if that's challenging enough for you, or you can join us for this third posture, the reverse triangle, where we reach over and around to the opposite side. So make sure we don't overreach with this right arm. Can have a tendency, if we're lacking that rotation through the spine, that we overreach with the arm, and that just compromises the shoulder. So if you can go deeper, make sure the whole body moves with that arm. It's a really challenging posture, this. Balance, strength, coordination. More breaths here. And then reach down. Let's sink here for a few moments. Okay, we all have our limitations in some of these postures. There's no doubt about it. There's some that I find a lot easier than others.
often the ones that I try and work on a bit more to challenge my body. And then coming up. Good work. Okay, bringing the feet together for our last posture, our last standing posture. We're bringing the feet together, standing nice and tall. We're going to get back into our one leg balancing. So raising the right leg up. Let's hold it here. Now if this is challenging enough for you, stay here. There's no need to go any further. But if you want to take it a step further, we're reaching the right leg behind and we're coming forward into our forward hip hinge. Okay, so we're just completing this final position for our hips. We've done our lunge, we've done our squat. Now we're just finishing things up with our forward hip hinge, just targeting a slightly different part of the hips. Okay, a couple more breaths here. And then coming up. Bring that knee forward and up. As smooth as possible. We can have a chair next to us if we're practicing this move. We can drop the foot down in between each one. Okay, let's go again. Sweep that right foot behind, coming down. Let's hold it here. Okay, the legs are tired now. So we're going to work through this nice and smoothly. Up. Bring that right knee up. Hold it here, stay here if this is challenging enough for you. Take a breather if needed. If you're happy to do so, let's go for our third one. Spread the toes out. Even weight through the foot, make sure we're not gripping with the toes. We're not balancing on the heels, keeping the hips level, we're drawing the shoulders up, keeping the back nice and flat. Might feel might be losing a little bit of form towards the end here, so just modify the intensity. Make sure we finish the session nice and strong. And then coming up. Good work. Place the right foot down now. Take a big deep breath into the belly and let's go. Lift that left knee up. We're nearly there. This is the last one. Okay, if this is challenging enough for you, stay here. If you want to take it one step further, we're sweeping that left leg behind. And we're coming down into our forward hip hinge. So again, it doesn't matter how far you go down, we can be all the way up. We can have the chair next to us. Make sure that what you do in good form. A great one for highlighting differences between left and right side. A couple more breaths here. And then up. Bring that knee nice and high. And if you're happy to do so, let's join me on the second rep. So sweeping that left leg behind, coming down. So again, we can just be standing in our first modification throughout this whole routine. Doesn't matter. as long as you feel challenge and you keep in good form, then you're adding benefit. Couple more breaths here. And coming up. Bring that left knee up. Okay, stay here if this is challenging enough for you. Or you can join me for the last posture of the day, sweeping that left leg through and coming down into our forward hip hinge. Breathing deeply into the belly. Couple more breaths here. Good work, and then coming up. Fantastic. Okay, let's finish off the session as we always do. Laying flat on our back, open up the feet, open up the hands. Okay, that was really a challenging session on the legs. Great one to add into your routine. I really want the focus now to be on the breath. Breathing deeply down into the belly. Matching our inhale with our exhale. So breathing in for 3 to 4, maybe 5 or 6 seconds in. And when you get right at the top of the breath, hold it for a couple of seconds. And then breathe out nice and slowly, matching the duration of our inhale. Okay, the breath is really, really important for a whole host of things. Sports performance, for the mind, for recovery. As well as for mental health, anxiety, stress, depression. The breath is the foundation behind all of that. So good work today. If you've got 5 or 10 minutes now to stay on the mat working on your breathing, then I would thoroughly recommend you do so. If you do need to head off, then make sure you revisit some sort of breathing practice later on in the day to finish off the day or to start the day. It was fantastic to have you on the mat. I hope you have a great rest of the day. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Thank you very much.